If anybody's got any questions, by the way, just yell out. Okay, other interesting things that they do, they provide a really nice handler mechanism for running applications where there's only one UI thread, but every UI class gets a handler of its own, and you can just post either messages or runnables to that thread, and they will just be run at a suitable point to update the UI. So if you need to do anything with the UI, for example, if we wrote down here, probably see somewhere nicely. Okay, so displaying the search preferences. Posts a new runnable to the handler, which says update the following screen values. Nice bits of embedded Unicode there. Give you degrees. So getting back to the UI thread is extremely straightforward. They also, on top of that, for every running thread in Android, they give you a message bus with it as well, which you can talk to and post messages and other things, reading the messages out. It's all there by default, so you don't have to write your own message architecture for Android apps. They have it built in for you, which is really nice. I haven't used it at all. We've never required anything that had that much stuff on it. But
messages going to what?
To that particular thread. So you can have an answering thing on that thread. Any other thread can get access to that message bus and post messages to it. So you can post messages between your threads.
So like text messages?
No, like IPC, inter-process communication between your threads. So if you want this thread to tell this thread something's complete, you can just post into its message queue. You don't have to you don't have to use a third-party component to have message bus or anything like that. You can just use the built-in one that they give you. They obviously figured that people were going to do that.
So everything has a listener that's listening for these messages?
Well, not by default, but you can. Everything can have a class that listens to its message queue. You just need to. It's a null. You just have to implement what you want it to do on getting messages. All right. So, on how much time have I got, by the way? Am I just going to keep talking until everybody gets bored, or?
What time does the thing close downstairs? Have you done with the actual?
Got to be out by 9:30 is
So you're going to be
packed.
another half an hour.
Half an hour. Okay, cool.
Might as well do an hour. Because we're normally with 3 hours.
That's cool. Okay, in that case, we'll quickly go on here. So the other thing that you get, this will be really boring to look at initially, but I can. Results. This is going to be very poor demo. Okay. The other thing you commonly want to do in these apps is have a list of options that you can select. I can probably demo this, maybe, he says. Without internet, this might be tricky. Yes, anyway, you have a list. As you can see, it just fires off the random bits of command line to fire up the emulator. The basic layout of the apps is they have a list of clickable components, much like a sort of scroll list in Windows kind of world, but takes up the whole screen usually. And they have an interesting model for handling how that works. Also, Android, of course, trying desperately to take the cake from Symbian on the world's slowest emulator launch. I'm not quite sure which is slower. The new Symbian one is pretty bloody slow, but this is also really slow because you're not even running yet.
I presume you're it's booting Linux.
It is. I believe so, anyway. I don't know for sure. I haven't gone and looked what it does when it runs the emulator. Is this going to work? No, because it's never going to get a signal, is it? Okay, maybe not.
Does your emulator provide GPS or not?
No, it does. There's emulation, GPS emulation stuff. Go back. No, it doesn't provide you with that, but it does provide the emulator itself has somewhere here. If I go over to this, so down the bottom here you can see that you've got emulator control stuff, so you can emulate an incoming phone call if that's slow, scroll even slower if I die. Okay, this is scroll speed apparently for this window. I have no idea why. 640 by 480, slow scroll. And somewhere down here, you have location controls. So you can specify manual GPS things and then send it, and that will emulate GPS fixes coming into the emulator. Why they didn't extend that to do the same thing for the sensor controls, I'll never know. So there is no way to get it to go, haha, you've turned over so the screen's going to roll sideways, which it does automatically for you regardless of whether you want to or not. So you ought to be able to emulate that, but apparently they didn't think so.
It would make the scroll slower.
Yeah, the scroll slower.
So you said it won't get a GPS fix, can't you send that message?
No, it's not that I won't get a GPS fix. I could send that message and that would work. I could also, if you have a look here, built specifically for this problem of being indoors, the application actually supports setting a manual location as well. The problem is I've got no Wi-Fi, which is the next step, which it needs to go away and get all the stuff that it's searching for. So it goes off to their thing.
Your laptop has no Wi-Fi?
I didn't get Wi-Fi set up on it before, and I'm not going to sit around while you guys are waiting to do that.
There's a network cable attached to the video thing there.
Oh, is there? Well, I might be able to do that then. Something here, he says.
Is there a proxy set?
I
If it
don't know.
happens,
I can't think of anything that's required to set it up. It should just go.
Okay. If it happens, it happens. We'll eventually. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to close that down. Okay, so if we get back there, I can show you. This screen here that you can see here doesn't look like much. It's got a loading progress kind of spinning wheel on it. The Android progress wheel is a spinning circle. I don't know why, but that's the way they've done it. And it just says that. But if we have a look at the code behind it, because it's not going to show you anything there, you can see down the bottom here we have this little item called a list view. So this is what draws the list. That's all you need to do to draw a list on your screen. And now if we go and have a look at the code that follows that, instead of being a regular activity, you have to extend list activities, and lists have adapters. You can kind of think of adapters as a kind of programmatic model for your list. So they are responsible for getting your data for the list. They give you a whole lot of them by default. There's an array one, there's a cursor one for SQL-like cursors, so you can just do your list straight off the things, and there are several other ones for built-in content providers in the thing, like the address book and stuff like that. But you can see here we create a new results adapter, and you require this little beast here, a layout inflator. Inside the list, look at the adapter itself. What's the method called? Here we go. When it draws each piece of the list, it's drawing effectively a self-rendering box that has the items or stuff inside each one. And the way Google Android handles this is they have a layout inflator which lets you pass a resource to it. So you can see here we have layout inflator, inflate, simple list item kind of thing. Whoops. Now we've got fast scroll. There we go. Simple list item. And so you pass it a resource and say, in this blob in the list, I want you to inflate this resource file, and that will render the piece that I want to draw, and then you can populate it. So if you see the very next step, we come down here and we say, find line 1 and line 2 of that, and grab the text views that are in there by name, Android R, ID, text 1 and text 2, and then somewhere down here, you'll see we set the values for them to bits of data that we have. So you can render your lists however you like. We're just using the default Android stuff here. You can see this belongs to the Android R class rather than our R class, so it's part of the Android framework. They give you a whole half dozen this is the default way lists look in Android. If you don't like that and you want to draw whatever you want, you can create your own layout and then just inflate that there and say, okay, I want to have icons on both sides and stripy text up and down in the middle, whatever the hell you want. And you just pass your layout, your resource file to the inflator. It draws it in the box, and then you fill in the data as you see fit yourself. It works quite nicely. It looks pretty easy to use. We've used it, well, not extensively, but enough to know that it works pretty well.